In the heart of ancient Mayan lands, a great city bursts with life, joy, flavors, colors, scents, laughs, and dances. The perfect example of how cultures blended hundreds of years ago and created a new, strong, and rooted identity. Merida is one of a kind, a place filled with gorgeous landscapes, delicious food, kind people, and so much magic floating around. This is a real Mayan experience, a part of Mexico that will make you feel like you're in another world. So get ready to explore this wonderful city and everything it has to offer. Bienvenidos a Merida. Merida is the capital and largest city in the Mexican state of Yucatan. Its history is rich and fascinating. It was founded on January 6, 1542, by Francisco de Montejo. Today, Merida is a vibrant cultural hub known for its colonial architecture, museums, and it's a gateway to exploring the Yucatan Peninsula's archaeological sites and natural beauty. Located in southeast Mexico, in the region that is called La Península de Yucatán, which is Yucatan's peninsula. Most of its terrain is flat with an average altitude of 10 meters, which is about 33 feet above sea level. The weather in this lovely city is 100% tropical and is characterized by distinct wet and dry seasons. The dry season, which goes from late November to April, is generally considered the best time to visit. The weather is warm with comfortable temperatures. Daytime temperatures can range from the mid-80s to the mid-90s Fahrenheit, which is around 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. The wet season, which runs from May through October, is considered a rainy season. The weather is hot and humid with occasional heavy rainfall, particularly in the afternoons. There's tons of flooding, so expect there to be some wet areas in very lowland areas of Merida. Daytime temperatures around this time of year range between mid-90s and mid-hundreds, so it's pretty hot. Now there is a hurricane season which runs from June through November. Merida, like many other parts of the Yucatan Peninsula, can be susceptible to hurricanes during this period. Now, while not every year sees a hurricane, it's a good idea to keep track of weather forecasts if you plan on living in Merida. Keep in mind that Merida's weather can be quite hot and humid, especially if you're not coming from a hot and humid area. This year's temperatures got to a record 123 degrees Fahrenheit, or 50 degrees Celsius. And although this is out of the ordinary, it's something that can happen during certain times of the year, especially between spring and summer. So if escaping cold weather is one of your goals, then Merida is a great choice for you. However, keep in mind how rough the heat can be and how it can get. Always find ways to stay hydrated, as well as looking for places that are well ventilated. What is the vibe in Merida? If you've never been to Merida, you can think of it as a big metropolis in the southeast region of Mexico. This is the largest city in terms of population in the whole region. There's everything a big and old city has to offer. The historic downtown is fantastic. It's filled with great museums, cute alleys, beautiful squares, and nice cozy restaurants. There's also street food all over the place, crafts, dances, expos. It's a whole experience. Now, on the other hand, the city has grown significantly and has embraced modernization quite a lot. There are newer parts of the city, and you can see modern townhomes, gated communities, luxury high-rises, and some more are going to be built. This is also considered to be the safest city in Mexico since it has the lowest criminal activity rating in the whole country. Law enforcement here is very well paid to avoid acts of corruption, which can still happen, but on a much more minor scale. And violent crimes are not as common of a thing. There's order and life is peaceful here. However, keep in mind that even though it's pretty close to Cancun, the amount of bilingual people and English speakers is not as common as in the Riviera Maya. Sure, you can probably navigate the tourist areas with just a few signs and speaking some broken Spanish, but if you plan to start a life here, I strongly suggest learning Spanish. Little by little, come with more than the basics. Now, there's a myth about Meridanos, or Yucatecos for that matter, and it's that they're not welcoming towards foreigners, not even with foreign Mexicans. And while there's some truth to that, it's still mostly a myth. Yucatecos are some of the warmest and nicest people in all of Mexico. However, you need to understand that how they perceive their own culture and its uniqueness can make them somehow sensitive if they feel that you're insulting their culture. This is a state that at some point tried to gain independence from Mexico and make its own republic. So yeah, they're very proud and they consider their culture unique in the world. And it's actually true. They have very particular traits that you won't see anywhere else in Mexico, or the world for that matter. So as long as you respect their culture, adapt to it, not question it, and just go with their flow, you'll be fine. You'll find great friends and some of the nicest people ever. There is also a sizable foreigner community living in Merida, and more people are thinking about moving here every day. So, if you want to meet other foreigners and have an easier transition while you learn Espanol and you really get integrated, Merida is a great option. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Merida is now a big city. So listing the best neighborhoods to live in such a short video is definitely not an easy task. I'll go through some of the neighborhoods or colonias that I think are nice and could personally recommend, but keep in mind that Merida is so much more than this list. So let's get started with Centro. Centro is a group of barrios or neighborhoods. These are the first neighborhoods in the city, so you'll find a lot of old buildings and houses, and that's part of its charm. These barrios include La Mejorada, Santana, San Cristobal, San Sebastián, and Barrio de Santiago. A lot of these old houses have been remodeled from the inside to meet the standard of modern lifestyle, also creating a nice contrast between the colonial-style buildings and minimalistic interiors. In any case, the prices keep a similar range, regardless of which barrio or neighborhood you choose. However, we have noticed that the most popular amongst expats are Barrio de Santiago and Santana. An average price for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, apartment in Centro, furnished, with nice interiors, would be around 20,000 pesos, more or less. Now also keep in mind that this is a rough estimate. Rent prices are always changing, especially in trending areas. You may also be able to find a 2-bedroom for a lower price or even a higher price. We found properties listed at 35,000 to 40,000 pesos monthly rent, with more space and amenities of course, but it gives you an idea of how wide the range could be. A lot of people choose Centro because of how convenient it is to live in this area. You're within walking distance of major markets, supermarkets, stores, entertainment, restaurants, museums, bus stops, and pretty much your location is the best in the whole city. However, it is a double-edged sword, since it's also the busiest area in town, meaning that there's constant noise, like cars, buses, people honking, music from bars, and overall street noise going on all day, every day. So if you aim for a more peaceful and quiet neighborhood without compromising on location, then I suggest that you start going north to the neighboring colonias such as García Guineres, Itzmina, Colonia Mexico, Miguel Alemán, and Chuburna. Let's call this group of neighborhoods Centro Norte, which means North Central. Personally, I would say this is the best area to live. You're still very much in a central area of Merida. You're well connected to different areas of the city. You still have walking distance to stores, restaurants, bus stops, nightclubs. Rent prices, though, go down significantly since you're out of the trendy historic downtown. Now, depending on which neighborhood, the amenities and overall cost of living can change, but not more than a couple of hundred pesos. For instance, the average breakfast in a coffee shop in García Guineres could be a bit more expensive than in Chuburna. Let's set an average of 18,000 pesos for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. Again, it's tricky to set this kind of average since in Chuburna, it's easy to find a 2-bedroom that goes for 8 to 10,000 pesos. So that's half of that 18,000 pesos I just mentioned. Now keep in mind that these neighborhoods are family oriented. So houses tend to be bigger. They normally have a garage, a backyard, the interiors are nice, and it's easier to find 3 or more bedroom houses. These go for somewhere around 25 to 40,000 pesos a month, depending on the amount of rooms, space, and of course the amenities. Now, if you're not really into living in the inner city and you want even more peace and quiet, or you're looking for newer modern houses or luxurious amenities, and you have your own car or you're more flexible about getting around, then keep going north. The neighborhoods like Montes de Amé, Montebello, Monte Carlo, and Altabrisa. Now, this group of neighborhoods, known as the northeast part of the city, is mainly known as the fancy part of the city. Now, it doesn't mean that everything is more expensive. You can still find reasonable rent prices, economic restaurants, and small convenience stores with standard prices. However, this part of the city indeed tends to be more upscale, and the overall cost of life is higher. Just to give you an example, the range is very wide, but we could find 2 or even 3-bedroom houses going for 18,000 pesos. Some of them are furnished. Same as we found a 5-bedroom property for 200,000 pesos a month in rent. So yeah, it's a very wide spectrum. However, I think it's safe to say that an estimate average of this area would be somewhere between 20,000 to 30,000 pesos a month for a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath house, fully furnished, with a pool, and really nice amenities. A lot of expats are starting to turn their attention to this part of the city since it's developing quickly. So it's providing a nice array of stores, supermercados, entertainment, malls, and all of that. So you don't have to travel really far distances or even to Centro to have a lot of fun. In any case, you're still very well connected by public transportation, or you can even ask an Uber or Didi or a taxi driver, and you'll be downtown in no more than 20 minutes, even if there's traffic. Now, Merida is a large city, but it's not even close to a major city like Ciudad de Mexico or Guadalajara. Distances are not really an issue in Merida, and transportation shouldn't be a problem. Utility costs in Mexico are pretty steady regardless of the city that you're in, with the exception of air conditioning or electricity. Now, since water and electricity are provided by government agencies, there is a constant standard. However, Merida's heat is something to consider, and most likely you're going to need at least 2 air conditioning units in your house, depending on the number of people living in your household. But if you have one for the living room and one for your main bedroom, your electricity costs will rise significantly. It's not a lot of money, but it does average between 2,500 to 4,000 pesos per bill, which you will receive every 2 months. Your water bill shouldn't be affected by this fact unless you take way too many showers a day or you have a lot of plants that you're watering. However, it shouldn't go above 400 pesos a month for a 2-person household. Now, gas is given to you by private companies like Gas Tomsa, Zeta Gas, Sony Gas, and many more. It'll be up to you, but the prices are similar, if not the same, in any company. A 30-liter gas tank costs around 650 to about 750 pesos. It should be enough for a 2-month period for a 2-person household. Now, in case you have a stationary tank, you can just refill it and keep track of how full your tank is. You can ask the guy to give you information once he finishes with the refill service. Of course, it matters if you know some Spanish, or you can have an app that can help you translate some of these things. Now, internet is normally provided by some of the major telecom communication companies in Mexico, and those are Telmex, Total Play, or Izzi. There's also Mega Cable. Now, some other smaller companies do exist in Merida. You can also get Starlink if you prefer to have satellite internet. All these companies offer similar packages, starting at 300 pesos for a basic package and ranging between 1,500 to 1,800 pesos for the fastest speed. Sometimes the cost of utilities is included in your rent, so that's something that you'll have to negotiate with your landlord or make sure that you ask about before signing a lease. But even if it's included, we recommend you research how much your consumption is and how much are you being charged for it to avoid any possible overcharging in any situation. Now, you already know that I love to read your comments, so please let me know where you're watching us from. Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like this video if you're loving this overview of Merida. Remember that it helps Mexico Relocation Guide to stay relevant according to YouTube, and you'll also help someone else see our videos through YouTube recommendations. Now, don't forget to visit our website and get our free Living in Mexico email series. It has a bunch of insider tips on what it's actually like to live in Mexico. And it was recently updated with a lot of new information. A lot of customers have used that to make some of their most important decisions on whether Mexico is something that they need to research further. The links are in the description of this video. Okay, now let's get into shopping. Now, one of the reasons that people love living in Merida is because they find a great variety of products in the city. For starters, you have several local mercados where you can find virtually everything that you need. You'll have access to fresh fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, all for more affordable prices, and you'll be buying directly from small producers, which avoids all the chemicals added to the ones that you find in the supermarket, which keeps them fresh for longer. Now, the downside, if you can even call it that, is that you'll have to go to the mercado or the market more often. So instead of making a shopping trip every week or 2 weeks, you'll have to go every 2 to 3 days since your produce will have little to no preservatives, meaning it'll go bad quicker. Some of the most famous markets in the city are in downtown. To mention a few, let's start with Mercado Lucas de Galvez. This is a main market in town, and it's huge. Here you'll find all kinds of things, from produce, dairy, meats, fish, household goods, seeds, cleaning products, crafts, clothing. I mean, pretty much all you can imagine. You also have Mercado San Benito. This is right next to Lucas de Galvez Market, and it offers pretty much the same things. Then you have Mercado Garcia Rejon. Here you'll find mostly crafts and regional clothing, ornaments, leather goods, things like that, as well as some regional food restaurants. Then you also have Mercado de Santana, a little market with food stands and some vendors selling their products. And finally, you have Mercado Chembec, one of the oldest markets in the city. In other neighborhoods, you'll also find markets like the Chuburna Market or the market in Miguel Aleman neighborhood. There are also these stores called tianguis. These are street markets working on scheduled days. So for example, if you live in a neighborhood that has a tianguis on Monday, they set up everything on Monday and they tear it down at the end of the day. So it's not an actual retail store that stays open all the time. Most neighborhoods also have a tiendita, which is normally labeled as tienda de abarrotes. And they sell basic canned products, dairy, some fruits, vegetables, and some snacks, beers, things like that. Now, having said all that, I know that sometimes you can get homesick and you would like to get some flavors from back home. Or there will be things that you simply can't find at the local market. Or maybe the local market is closed and it's after 8 p.m. and you need something that day. So some people make a trip to a supermarket or to an organic store. In any case, in Merida, you have big box supermarkets like Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, Home Depot, Office Depot, as well as the Mexican chains like Soriana, Chedraui, and Selecto, which is a fancier brand from Chedraui, and it has a lot of international products. There are also numerous alternative stores or dedicated stores like bakery supply stores, vegan stores, organic cosmetic stores, and things like that. There are also several malls in the city where you'll find the classic mall layout. A lot of clothing stores, lots of kiosks selling all kinds of things, a food court, movie theaters, restaurants, and everything you can find in a mall. Depending on how upscale the area is, the stores could change. There's Plaza Alta Brisa, Plaza Galerías, Gran Plaza, City Center, or City 32, Plaza La Isla. These are some of the malls that come to mind. These malls can be a good place to find home appliances, furniture, aside from also clothing items. Okay, now that we have all your shopping bases covered, let's get into healthcare. Now, Merida offers accessible and great quality medical services. The city is well known for its healthcare infrastructure and has several hospitals and clinics with really good ratings. As a matter of fact, Merida's medical or hospital quality is so famous amongst Mexicans that even people from Mexico City fly to Merida to get treatment. Pharmacies and consultorios are abundant throughout the city. It would be hard to find a lack of medicines or specialized doctors. Some hospitals that we found have very good reviews and are very well prepared to treat all kinds of illnesses and emergencies. And a lot of their staff speaks English. So even if you are dominating a lot of the Spanish language, it can sometimes be hard to talk Spanish in medical terms. So some of these hospitals that we recommend are Hospital Regional de Alta Especialidad de la Península de Yucatán. Or you can probably just abbreviate it with HRAEPY. This is a public hospital known for its high-quality medical services. It offers specialized care in various fields. Then there's a private hospital, Star Medica, which has a great reputation. It provides a wide range of medical services and has really modern facilities as well as private rooms. Then there's Centro Médico de las Américas, which is another private hospital with a focus on providing comprehensive healthcare services. It's often recommended for its medical expertise. You also have Hospital Faro, a state-of-the-art hospital with top-notch facilities and medical equipment, a favorite amongst expats who live north of the city. And remember, a change of scenery must also come with a change of habits. So you know that I always recommend take a walk in the morning before the heat is too much to bear. Try to visit organic markets more often and avoid fast food. Do some stretches before going to sleep and keep a balanced mental health. As I always say, it is better to prevent than to react. So now that you know about medical facilities, let's get into how you're going to get around when you live in Merida. So first of all, to get to Merida, you can fly directly to its international airport, which offers direct flights to different cities in Mexico, as well as direct flights to many cities in the United States and Canada. There are also 3 ADO bus terminals in the city, offering bus rides to virtually any other major city from Quintana Roo up to Mexico City. At this point, you might be wondering what's the best way to move around once you actually live in Merida. So let's go over a few of your options. My first suggestion is walking. If you can avoid owning a car and run most of your errands by foot or with public transportation, I'll always go for that option. However, I can't deny that although Merida is a very walkable city in terms of distance and infrastructure, the heat can make that experience impossible. Most pedestrians opt for running their errands early in the morning before 10 a.m. and then late in the evenings after 6 p.m. Or in the winter, a little bit before 12 p.m. and then of course after 4 or 5. So then you have a public bus system known as Va y Viene, which is a metropolitan network that offers comfortable and affordable bus rides, and it covers most of the city. A ride in one of these buses is 12 pesos, very affordable. You have air conditioning on board, and the routes are very, very easy to follow. You'll also notice there are older buses still running. Those are 8 pesos a ride and have usually no air conditioning. You can download the Va y Viene app, which will give you a map of the routes and the schedule of the buses. Although, keep your expectations low when it comes to punctuality on any bus system in Mexico. Now, if you're not into taking public transportation, taxis are a nice private option. There are specific sites where you can get a cab or you can easily hail one on the street. You also have Uber, Didi, and InDriver, which is widely available throughout the city, and fares are affordable as distances in Merida are not super long. Now, in recent years, the government has been making efforts to become more bike-friendly, so you can find bike lanes in some areas, and there are public bikes available for rent throughout the city. But what if you prefer to drive and you're just so used to having a car and not being dependent on public transportation or apps? Then getting a car is a pretty straightforward process. Now, buying a new car in a dealership is pretty much the same as in most countries. They will handle most of the paperwork for you and help you register the vehicle and help you get plates from Yucatan. Keep in mind that in order to be eligible to register a vehicle in Yucatan, you must be a resident of Mexico. Now, buying a used car can be tricky. You have to check that the tenencia, or vehicle taxes, have been paid and are current. Your factura, which is an official receipt in Mexico, must have some important information on it, and you should not only check the condition of the car, but also whether or not it has been stolen. There is a public register with a good local contact who may be able to help you. Overall, moving around in Merida is fairly easy and pretty much the same as in any other city. You have public services available, and if you choose to get a car, the roads are in decent condition. Just keep in mind that you are in a new country and that the driving culture in Mexico is not the same as any other place that you're coming from. It's not worse or better, it's just different. So check out this video for my top tips on driving to and driving in Mexico. All right, now let's get into one of the most important parts of your life in Merida, and that is entertainment. Now, the options to have fun in Merida are endless. One thing we have to recognize about Merida's administration is that they do a lot in keeping the city alive and filled with cultural events like concerts, shows, performances, and plays all year round. In the historic downtown, you'll see activities every night, starting around 6 p.m. There are also free walking tours, a lot of squares with street food stands, performances, street artists, and artisans. I mean, the place is always alive. This is also a perfect place for foodies since Yucatan's food is one of the richest and most diverse in Mexico. And that is saying a lot. Here is one of those particular traits I was talking about. The combination of flavors that you'll find in Yucatan, you won't find them anywhere else. There's cochinita pibil, sopa de lima, relleno negro, queso relleno, tamales, and the list goes on and on. This is one of those places where it's hard to find bad food. So if your idea of having a nice Friday night is to go and try a new place, this is the place for you. If you also like to get a few late night drinks, there are numerous bars and nightclubs scattered across the city, mainly in downtown, but you'll also find several in Paseo de Montejo or in Alta Brisa. If you're more into sports and physical activity, Merida has got your back. There are numerous sports clubs, country clubs where you can have a nice workout, or get together with friends and play pickleball or golf if you're into that kind of thing. Now, if you want to get away, you have beautiful beaches near you. The nearest is Puerto Progreso, which is just 40 kilometers to the north. You also have beaches like Sisal or Celestún, which are 1 hour away from the city. You can also venture into the jungle and visit the countless cenotes that are in the state. As soon as 30 minutes outside the city, there will be lots of eco parks and cenotes that you can visit, from prices starting at 150 pesos for a day pass. That's about $7 to $8 depending on the exchange rate. Very affordable. Yucatán is also home to 7 pueblos mágicos. These include Valladolid, Izamal, Maní, Sisal, Espita, Motul, and Tecash. Most of them are just about a 2-hour ride from Merida. There are also a lot of archaeological sites near Merida, like one of the 7 wonders of the world, Chichen Itza, which is only a 2-hour ride from the city. You also have Ekpalam, Caba, and Uxmal. There are natural reserves like the one in Rio Lagartos, where you can access the Las Coloradas, which is a series of pink lagoons, the result of a salt mining process, or the one in Celestún, where you can see flamingos in their natural habitat. So as you can see, Merida is truly magical. It's far from a dull place. Here you'll find endless fun as well as relaxation. So it's not hard to see why so many expats are moving to Merida. So what do you think about Merida? There's a reason why this city has been getting so much attention lately. It's a nice, modern, and safe city that has a great cultural offering, good infrastructure, first world healthcare, and sunny days if you're really into hot weather. But you be the judge. I want you to experience it for yourself, so leave your comments and let us know if you think this could be the right place for you. Or what other places would you like to see on our channel? So I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you find all of this information really helpful. This is just a small sliver of what Merida is like. Of course, we'd love to cover much, much more, but we only have so much time. So remember to like this video and make sure you comment down below and let me know what other cities would you like to see. Now, if you're ready to take a serious step into moving to Mexico, visit our website, www.mexicorelocationguide.com, and check out not only our relocation tours, but our complete guide. So this isn't goodbye. This is just an hasta luego, amigos. I will see you guys in our next video. Thank you so much for watching. Nos vemos.